if you out there and you're going through something and you can identify that source, you got to go back to that source to be able to move forward. And it's for you. And again, a lot of times we don't, go back and talk to people, or we keep conflict because I don't want that. You're not doing it for the other person. You're doing it for yourself, to order release yourself in order so you can go forward. And you got to understand that in this moment that you're not being punished, you're being prepared. It's like we're saying, you're being prepared for what's next. You're literally presenting something in front of you like, hey, this is a battle that's coming up. Are you ready for what you're gonna? Because if you can't get past this step, it's like steps in the game. When we play in the community, we used to play the game all the time. If you can't get past this level, you can't go on. Welcome, world. Welcome, family, to another episode of the EL2A Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Gilmore Jr. To the right of me, got Mr. Military Man, Mr. Miles Congo. How you feeling today, bro?
Feeling pretty good.
Love to hear it. To the right of him, we got the Heights of Seven Hills, Mr. Eddie E. Rock. How you feeling today, brother?
Glad to be back, bro.
Glad to be back. We're glad to have you here. Another episode of the EL2A Podcast. I'm pretty sure, man, at this point, y'all, we are family, all right? Every time you come here, you tune into these episodes with family. We've been having great guests. We just went on a run with two great guests, Mr. TJ McCoy, and we follow up behind that with the lovely Miss Diamond Girl, Miss Miracle Watson. Great conversation. So I love it. If you haven't watched those, go back and tap into those episodes. We got more great things coming up. One thing I want to put on your radar right now, we'll be traveling this summer. The EL2A Podcast will be on the road. I know y'all used to seeing us in this room, but we will be traveling to different areas, tapping in with some leaders, some entrepreneurs in different places. So I'm excited about that, and I hope you are as well. But start what you're doing right now. Like, subscribe, and comment. All right, make sure you like and subscribe and comment on these great episodes. I think they're great. What y'all think? Y'all think we have some great episodes? Yeah. What you think they should do, Miles?
Should like, subscribe, and comment.
Eddie, what you think they should do?
Follow that up. I like it.
Like, subscribe, and comment. All right. I know y'all hear me say it, but hey, it's good to hear these other pros say it. Or what you say, Hobby back there talking, huh? Socials. Go follow our socials. EL2A Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. Thanks, Hobby. All right. But to get in the conversation, I want to hold you guys on. God works in mysterious ways. All right. And I experienced it today. I'm gonna start off from the beginning of my day, and I'm just play out how we get to this moment. This morning, last night I was watching the game, stayed up a little later. This morning I woke up and I wanted to meditate. I wanted to just be still, hear God. As through me doing that, I put up daily deposits. I put up, I put things in our chat every morning, but these are things that are really just coming through my mind through working out and through just being still and hearing what comes to me. And then I usually put those things in the chat. Today, the daily deposit that I put on my Instagram, it said, "You're not behind. You're in the middle of becoming. Stay present, stay patient, keep making daily deposits. The journey is building something special." All right. So that came through the mindset, even just dealing with myself, still dealing with myself. And sometimes you have to stop and understand that we always want to win. You know what I mean? We just had national title last night. Like that was the victory for them. They started that alone last year sometime. They started on the journey to get to that moment. And in life, we want to get to that championship moment. And through the journey of getting there, we get discouraged or things start happening. And that was what was playing on my mindset. So this came out. So after this, later on throughout the journey, I was going to get a call from one of our mentees. And he called, and I can already hear it in his voice, like, "Mr. Jamie." Well, first of all, I didn't answer his first call. I was in the meeting. I told him I'd call him back. When I called him back, like, "Mr. I can hear it in his voice." I'm like, "What's good?" Just going through something right now. I was like, "What you mean?" His remarks to me was, people see you in a certain light, but they don't understand what's going on behind the doors. And he said, how people put their highlights on social media, and social media, this is where social media is just a highlight reel, but a lot of people have a lot of real stuff going on. And this is what he was talking about himself. He was like, "There's a lot of real stuff I have going on in my life, and it's beating me up right now." And he basically said, "I call myself a bad person. I'm not the person that people think." And so and the person that's calling him, I'm like, it's shy. I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he started off by saying he had something happened with his father, which led to him getting into this point. Him and his dad had a big falling out, and you know what I mean. that led to him not talk. He hadn't talked to his father since, but that led him into getting into some other things. And then he started talking about, he started saying, he said, I started getting addicted to, drugs. So, just one of those whole different things. And I'm just hearing the brother, and I'm just letting him ride out. He's just going. And I had just put on something he put. I told him he was cut different. I was saying something, and I had to stop. And I told him in this moment, I said, bro, the same thing I just put on your social media yesterday, I'm gonna tell you today. I say, you are cut different, dog. I say, for you even to make this call to me right now, for you to understand at the young, tender age of 18, that the path that you're going down right now, that this isn't you. I don't know who this person is. I feel that what I'm doing right now isn't right, and I need your help. I say, bro, if that doesn't explain what it means to be cut different as well, then I just don't understand what it means. And again, we had a longer conversation, and we talked about a whole bunch of different things. But I bring that in to say, so I'm going to read what I said to you guys in the beginning, then we're going to go back. Say, you're not behind. You're in the middle of becoming. Stay present, stay patient, keep making daily deposits. The journey is building you into something special. And I reminded him of these words, because this young man has a bright future. He has a lot of things set up for him to walk into. And I say, right now, you just being tested to see if you're really that person for this journey. And you are still in the driver's seat to answer that question. You can either right now fold, or you can answer the call. And I want to just have a conversation about that, man, because I think it's so many people in that spot right now. There's so many people that they feel the pressure of life. They feel that the prices of eggs are $10. They feel that their job is talking about AI robots are going to take their job. They feel like, but in the inside, they know who they are. But in the midst of all these things happening, they losing that. They're starting to, well, am I actually this person? And, through this conversation, I want to, even in moments, y'all, think about a moment back with y'all. Even we can start there, like, was there ever a moment in your life where you was like, you had to really question, like, am I that guy? Am I the one to answer for the job? And talk about that moment and talk about how you got through that, and either one of y'all can start with that.
Yeah. You want to talk about real estate, being a dad? Which one?
Either or.
I know. That's how I'd say that was rhetorical, because I mean, it that does happen. But I think that's, like you said, that when those moments come, it is just to test you out to see, what it is that, are you the person that God has called you to be, basically? Are you walking in what God wants you to do? So when you put up the post yesterday, I thought about, so I had a closing, and during that process, so most people think that being a real estate agent is easy. If you got high blood pressure, don't do it. Simple as that, just don't do it, because it just has you all over the place. But what happened, the gentleman, so there's another, the guy, my client, he gets to the table. We were there, we all excited. He and his kids, they went to the final walkthrough, showed the kids the house and all that. We get to the table, they call him as he's signing the paper. That's not happening today. I'm scared, as the agent, like, yo, right now, like, why would this happen right now? So even in that moment, his wife wasn't there, but he and I we're having this conversation, and I could see at first he was worried, but then I gave him, one of the experiences that I had prior to his, and I told him, I was like, it funded that next week, so I think everything will be all right. We got a call from the bank, ended up calling, and they told him, like, hey, this is the situation. This is the reason why it won't happen today. So in that moment, again, his wife wasn't there, but he understood in that moment, and I reassured him, like, hey, no, we're good. We just need this to be done. So I could see the worry in his face in that moment when his wife got there. She wasn't in that call. She wasn't in when that happened, when that phone call came through. So over the weekend, now I'm thinking to myself, like, man, what I'm thinking about his mental, like, where is he thinking? Like, where's his headspace? But then Monday came around and everything closed out, and he and I, we had a final conversation. I'm like, I said, so you were good over the weekend? Nothing happened between you and your wife? He was like, he said, my wife seen me, when she seen me make the call to say, even though it wasn't closed, it wasn't completely closed, he made a call to the moving company and still, like, set everything up to move their furniture. His wife seen how calm he was, and then she was okay with everything. So through that whole example, through that whole scenario, even though it got bad, he could have been worrying. He could have been going all over the place. He could have been calling my phone, man, what's going on? Why this didn't happen? XYZ, but he trusted, he kept the faith, and he believed in that moment that things was going to work out. And that's just how life goes sometimes. I mean, and I told him, I said, bro, I prayed for you. I told God that, you know, I know this is going to happen. But that let me know, like, that reassured my faith in that moment, that sometimes God just wanted to see how bad you really wanted the house. He's been through that process before where he didn't get to the table, but they got denied before because of whatever reasons. But so this was the second time that could have happened, but he kept the faith. And again, that's just showing like your faith, the things that you go through. Again, they really wanted that home. That was something that he put forth. Everything that they asked him to do, that we told him to do, he did it. And he stood through the whole thing. He could have gave up. He didn't have to go through it. They could have still been ready. But that's just one, you know, example that I've seen most recent.
Yeah. And even to touch on that, so one thing, and we'll get back to that, but I want to make sure we backtrack a little bit because I kind of went before I got a little ahead of myself by asking that question. I want to go back to the answer. What would you say to somebody in that point? So even before, you just talked about how that played out, but even going back the situation that playing, so you got people out here dealing with, you know, frustration, burnout, comparison, and all these different things that life and the journey places on us when we're going through it, when we are becoming who God created us to be. What would you say to a person that's in that rut of like, dang, bro, I'm not who I think I am? What would you say to that person?
Trust the process. If nothing else from my experience, trust the process. Because a lot of times you said it, you know, you already prefaced it. Sometimes God just does what he puts us in certain situations just to see how we're going to handle it. Now, are you going to walk through? Are you going to deal with that process? What's her name? Diamond Girl. She said it about being a diamond. Miracle. When she said it on, you know, the process of a diamond. A diamond isn't a diamond. It's not this shining thing, you know, at the beginning. You got it's cold. They got to go through all the pressure, all the heat. Then it comes out as shining, and now it's worth so many millions of dollars, so thousands of dollars. So it's just trusting that process. It's inevitable. I mean, I'm sure most people have got to deal with that process of experiencing something that they don't want to do to really see who they really are.
Yeah, for sure. I would say perspective and discernment. And why I say that is when you're in those moments is you have to have the perception that that's not a bad thing. The fact that you're in a position, you're asking of yourself, am I really that person? That's humility. That's not always a level of doubt. You have to understand when you're walking in your calling or you're moving more towards your calling, what's going to elevate you to your calling, it's always going to be uncomfortable because there's always a spiritual resistance that's there. If everybody was in their calling doing what they were supposed to do, we're living in a totally different world. So it's designed to throw you off. You have to stick with, you know, that perception or that understanding, that perspective, gain perspective over that situation. I'm asking of myself, am I really this? That can lead to pitfalls or shortcomings in where you're currently at. You have to self-assess. It's not always a bad thing. If you analyze yourself and you start to have that feeling, it's because that there's something there to unpack. The mature thing is to go into it with grace for yourself. We're not perfect. We'll never be perfect. So when you're moving more into your purpose, those questions are normal. Am I doing enough for what it is I'm presenting to the world and to everyone else that I'm saying I'm for? That's an accountability check at that point. Then you have to move over to the discernment and say, okay, you know, it's not about me presenting myself as being perfect. Again, that's a fool's game. We'll never be that. If you get caught up in that, you actually going to miss your calling because you're going to start curtailing everything you do is the whole image of perfection or that, oh, I got this figured out. You don't have to do all that, right? Using biblical principles, I mean, you have to look, you know, God called David to be a king when he was just a boy. What does a boy know about being a king? You know, Moses was a leader and he had a speech impediment. Who am I to sit there and talk in front of people? I can't get my words right. Everything is littered in the Bible of God calling people, imperfect people, to do extraordinary things. It's not for you to feel like you're perfect. If you get caught up in that mentality, you always going to stumble when it comes to your calling because you're thinking that your imperfection is a rejection of the calling that you feel in your heart to do. Sure. It's not for that. our calling's for other people. So we have to take ourselves out of it and just realize that even in my imperfections, God can use me to do a great good. That's what I have to focus on. Me personally, that's why I know I'm not perfect. I know I don't have all the answers. Yeah. But I know that if I keep just trusting in God, doing the little things I know I can do to help push things forward, that's all that's required of me. It's not for me to be up there as a perfect example. It's just for me to just have trust and faith in my calling and God to sit there and elevate me, to get the people to look at me that he is putting me in the spot to get people to look at, to transform either their mentality or the way that they do things so that it can be a greater good. Sometimes we just have to have discernment, just pull ourselves back. Yeah. It's not about you and your image at that point.
Yeah.
You said, and one thing that because sometimes you got people, so if I'm in a bad situation, how can I see the good in it? You got to realize it's bad. That's what you said about, he knew that was a bad situation. And sometimes it's the bad when you realize that it's the bad. I think it's like the flight or flight. Okay, you're in a bad situation. What are you going to do? That's what the real test of who you are and what you're trying to do really come out, because you're in a tough situation. Even at that table that Monday when I talked to him, back to my client, what he said was, it's now for him, he's able to go help somebody else, prepare them for the process. So he just experienced a bad moment, a bad situation. Actually, this was the second time, but he was able to see the bad. Well, he was able to say, okay, yeah, no, this is not good, but I'm gonna go help somebody else out with that. So when they're faced with this, they're able to get through it. So, for the ones that may say, well, I don't understand, or I don't want to, because I don't want them to think that everything has to be seen as good. I think they got to realize, no, this is a bad state, because those people that are in those bad states and don't realize that it's bad, now they just dwelling in that bad thing and not trying to get out of it. You feel me?
That's why I say it's that perspective and then the discernment to know where you at. And if you find yourself in that rut, I challenge you to just keep helping. Because the more people that you continue to help out genuinely, even in that moment, you're going to start to realize that, one, you're probably not as bad as you think, and we got to stop throwing those words around. Their experiences, there's, we throw around good and bad way too much. If we're going to truly lean on what biblical principles say, none of us good. We have to check that ego, that self. We all mess up. We all, are imperfect beings. So you have to defeat that mindset. If not, it's going to defeat you. And now you're not walking in your calling. Now you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And now your whole life, subconsciously, without even realizing, your whole life is just to uphold the image, not to actually do the work.
Yeah. And it turns you into turmoil, that conversation. I think so think of being a certain way for the majority of your life. You were doing something a certain way for the majority of your life. And I want to hit on him to go to someone else. Another thing he said was he feels himself, being in dark spots where he's starting to get disrespectful. Like he just feels evil in a sense. You know what I'm saying? He feels like just negative in a sense. Grades are starting to drop. And let me preface this. He's starting to get C's. You get what I'm saying? But to him, that's not what he's used to. So again, a person in that position where, again, I just don't feel right. Like internally, I don't feel right. I don't feel myself. I feel myself acting negatively. The grades, the thing I'm used to being good at, I'm starting to get bad at. So the only thing I can attach it to is that situation that happened with my dad. This is what started this spiral. I picked up some bad habits along the way. So now I'm in it, like I'm drenched in it. So when we're trying to tell the person to trust the process, I just want to be fair in that, as we're thinking about it, that person that's really in it. Like, let's put ourselves in it. And we don't been all been in the moment. You know what I mean? Let's get ourselves in it. And as we're in it, we feeling it. What does that person actually need to do? You get what I'm saying? And everything we saying, like, but what does this person need to do? Like, what are the steps that, okay, this is where you at now, and this is what you need to do to get where you want to go. You know what I mean? Is there anything when y'all thinking about a process of just pulling yourself out of a hole that a person can do right now? Because again, I'm gonna go back. There's people, bro. We in a unexpected time right now. Nobody knows what's about to go on. This stuff with Trump, the tariffs, all this. Just we have a world of people that they don't know, and they get their information from social media. You know what I mean? And same thing when I get back to him. That's one of the prime things he said. I'm putting an image out so for a person that's feeling this way, but they can go to social media to get a high, get a couple comments, like, hey, you doing it good, to make them feel good, but then they got to go back to real life. You know what I mean? So how can someone pull themselves out that hole?
What Miles said, so Miles, real quick, he said it.
Yeah.
It's the mentality. Dismiss yourself from that environment and the mentality, that negative mentality that you're in. Because again, if you sit in it, then you're gonna continue to dwell in that moment, and nothing good is gonna come out of that. So that's my piece on that.
I said this before, especially in the podcast. I referenced it that we did with Sean, and when he was talking about his story and why he didn't call people when he was going through stuff. And I definitely that resonated a lot with me. I've said it before, you have to allow yourself to have that island experience. That experience is what's going to really hone you into the person that God needs to be. It's not going to be perfect even though you come out, but you're going to be much better fit for the continued journey of what's left to come. And we have those experiences several times throughout life. It's not just going to be one. So you have to understand how to deal with it when you get it that first time. That's going to set the pattern of how you deal with it later. So you got to detach from those things that spur you to feel like you have to present a certain way. It's even why now, even personally, I don't invest too much in social media, because at the end of the day, I want to know that what I did, whether I get applauded for or not, was what I felt I was supposed to do. This is something I have to sit there and rest with in my spirit. Did I do, this for me, or did I do this for something else? You have to be cognizant of what fuels what you do. And so if you can only do certain things when there's a crowd or when there's people talking about it, then you need to self-assess. I'm not saying you're moving in the wrong direction, but you're allowing the wrong fuel to gas your vehicle up, so you have to correct that. And sometimes that's where that feeling can come in of like, dang, am I really that person? I'm telling you, you might want to check your source of what you're using to fuel the things that you do. Mm-hmm. And so, you have to detach from that social media stuff. There's positive to social media. I'll never shoot that down. But again, we're imperfect people. We misuse tools all the time. We took things like firearms and things that can be for home defense and for hunting. We use it to kill each other and do different things. Like, we misuse tools all the time. For sure. This is no different. We're misusing social media to just capture those highlights, those moments and things like that. Man, that's not reality. And we can get so enamored with that we put ourselves in a cage. We put ourselves in a prison that now we feel like we constantly have to be up at the ante or meeting this, I put it up and I only, last time it was 50 likes because I did this, but now I only got 12. You know what I mean? Now you constantly, and you just not even doing the things anymore out of a genuine sense. It's just like, we have to check these things. And sometimes you have to be on an island. Sometimes you're going to have to detach yourself from your friends and things like that. And if they're really your friends, they'll understand. I encourage my friends to have that experience, man. Look, we'll still be here. Or if you really hit some hard times, you need to call somebody, we still here. But you owe it to yourself to unpack all of that, even traumas, mentioning this young man, some things that was said about his past and member of his family. Mm-hmm. That stuff can hinder our walk and how we doing things. So we have to go back to unpack and say, okay, I'm unpacking this. And you have to give yourself grace. The good that you were doing was not just because it was in spite of this person. That may cross your mind, but that good that you were doing, it was in you to begin with. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do it. So you have to just understand and say, okay, look, I did some good things. Part of it could have been from a toxic source because I want to show this person I'm able to do X, Y, and Z. But okay, now I cut that out. I say, you know what? That's toxic. Let me leave that alone. Let me just focus on the good that I've clearly shown myself able to do. Let me just rest in that. Yeah. And sometimes, again, people, you just got to slow it down, breathe, and just give yourself some grace, unpack, and say, you know what? Nah, this was already in me. I'm going to just own it.
That's for sure. And that's exactly what I told him. Everything you're saying, exactly what I told him. Even with that situation with his father, I say, man, you got to face that head on. I say, in order for you to move forward, you gotta go before that situation. And I say, if you want a relationship with your father, then go talk to him. Even if you don't want to further relationship with him, you need to face that conflict that y'all had. You need to go address that and be, hey, this is how I felt. And you know what I mean? Release him, release yourself. First and foremost, I say you're not doing it for him, you're doing it for yourself. So go talk to him, and however that is, if he answers, he answers, he don't, but you understand that you tried to go there, and you can walk away with knowing that I at least tried, I attempted to do this. I say that's a start. I say, because if you're telling me, because a lot of people can't find the source, you know what I mean? You talk to a lot of people, I'm in the phone, I don't know why. He identified the source of where it started from. So if you out there and you're going through something and you can identify that source, you got to go back to that source to be able to move forward. And it's for you. And again, a lot of times we don't, go back and talk to people, or we keep conflict because now I don't want that. You're not doing it for the other person. You're doing it for yourself, to order release yourself in order so you can go forward. And you got to understand that in this moment that you're not being punished, you're being prepared. It's like we're saying, you're being prepared for what's next. God you're literally is presenting something in front of you, like, hey, this is the battle that's coming up. Are you ready for what you're gonna? Because if you can't get past this step, it's like steps in the game. When we play the game, we used to play the game all the time. If you can't get past this level, you can't go on. And this is a test I'm gonna put you in an uncomfortable situation, and I'm gonna see if you really want it, or if you're really the person for this next journey. And God knows, like He already knows who you are. When we sitting there questioning ourselves, it's like I put it, but we let, again, worldly things, social media, all these things, people, that's just another thing I told them, bro, who you hanging around? When are you doing these things? Maybe you need to not be around those people no more. I mean, they can not be friends, but you're at an age and smart enough to know, okay, hey, what y'all about to go do? Y'all, nah, come get me later on or something. I can't hang with y'all right now if that's what y'all going to do, because you understand that that's on your trajectory. That's not helping you on your trajectory. I said, you're a young man that's about to go to school. I said, you can't handle it now, brother. When you get up to school, it's over, man. Yeah. You're going to have too much freedom. So we got to understand that we have to put a harness around ourselves to where we can manage ourselves. You know what I mean? We can't or listen to all these different things, or be on social media and listening to the pastors, the famous Pastor Todd, Mike, and all these guys speak. And then once we get into that room by ourselves and it's time for us to act, that we haven't gave ourselves the freedom to understand that we are capable of doing these things. And you got to understand you're capable. I think it's there starting, when you start questioning who you are as a person, I think that's when you really get in a rough spot. When you start like, am I really this person? And that's a dangerous spot to be in. So have you, and I tried to, because I always try to think, but I never really ever questioned who I was. Like, I went through some tough times. Like, even in the moment when football was over, I never thought that I was like not a good, fit for whatever was out there. I just was lost, but I still had confidence in my abilities. It's just like I was in a lost time. Did y'all ever go through a moment where like you question like who you were and like if you were able to do something?
So just the other week, not questioning like who I was, but what I was giving off. So even now as a dad, that's one thing I always say. I never. It was to see to be a father and to think that or to feel like, am I doing enough as a dad? You know what I'm saying? To give my kids enough, to give them enough love, to give them, to give them what they need in order to succeed. Sometimes I question myself on that, and I do have those. I got my homies, different people like Rayin, they see what I do. But for me, I got to make sure that I'm not getting too complacent, because I feel like getting complacent in my role as a father, as a man, that's when you start having those problems. You know what I'm saying? So not questioning who I am, because I know who I am and I know what I'm doing. It's just like, okay, hey, can I do more, or am I doing enough? So I just try to weigh that out to see, all right, what's the next step? Do I continue doing what I'm doing, or do I need to, back off with being so hard on the kids, you know what I'm saying? Because I want them to understand that their dad do love them. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah. I think it's, I kind of look at it from a different perspective. I don't think most people battle with knowing who they are. Is more so the endurance factor of being who you are. Because as we talk about callings and we talking about being who you are and walking in that, you're going to be challenged. Those challenges, because you're getting tired, can cause you to sit there and be like, dang, was I, you know what I mean? You can run on the track all day long, but you go run a full marathon, I guarantee you're going to question your cardio real fast. You know what I mean? you're a runner. You've been running. It's just now you got to do it for longer. And so sometimes people struggle when it comes to that endurance factor, and that can cause you to start to question, dang, am I really prepared for this? Am I really? And again, the perspective I come with from the Bible, it says that in our weakness, that's where his strength is made known. So it's like, again, you have to allow these things to happen sometimes. You can't always be so rigid, try to fight against it. That's why I try to be very blunt and real with people about calling different stuff. It's not pretty. Yeah. It ain't pretty. People think we have this romanticized view of like callings that it's just like once you realize you're gonna be doing backflips down a golden street. Like, no, that's when you really in the fight. Like, that's when you really gonna have to deal with a lot of things. That's when your inner demon is gonna start, pulling at you. That's when everything is going to come at you. And you have to be ready for that and have the endurance to keep pushing through and to remind yourself in those moments that, yes, this is what I'm called here to do. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep trudging along, even if I don't see what's the path in front of me or whatever. Like, that's where that faith comes in. Yeah. And I promise you, if you just stick to those things or allowing yourself to be stretched, how God needs to stretch you, it's going to be made known to you. I said this before on a pod. That's why we have to remember the little things that we do. We have to remember and make sure that we stepping up to the plate to do those little things that we know that God's asking us to do, because then he'll be more open to reveal more to you. Sometimes we get too far ahead, and sometimes we look at the endurance factor, and then we start to question, do we have enough to continue on? Yeah. And in those moments, that's when you have to, again, pull yourself back and say, all right, God, I need some help. God, guide me, help me, give me enduring power to keep pushing through. And you will start to notice each day it'll get a little bit easier, that load to get a little bit lighter. But then that's when the new thing comes up. And now you got to push through that. So it's just getting your mentality set to understand that it's going to be a cycles of pushing through. And that's okay. Yeah. It's not that the world is ending. It's not all these other things. It's just part of the stretching process. Sadly, a lot of people stop because they started getting them hits and they started to get tired and they stop. Yeah. That's why I keep saying, find a way to help others when you're in that spot. That's what's going to get you to you trick yourself to be like, okay, because I'm trying to help. No, I'm in a bad spot, but let me keep pushing. And now they're saying, man, you through that cloud, you through that dark spot, and now you have even more to be thankful for. Not only did you move on to the next level, but man, you brought other people with you. I think that's more powerful than anything else. Yeah,
and even as you're talking, and I'm just thinking this in my head. Even for a person, if you all can just think about where I'm at right now, if you're in a rough spot, it's kind of like that waiting room, using a waiting room that's kind of like an analogy. When you're in the waiting room and they may got your loved one back there, you know what I mean? And it's kind of a situation that's out of your hands, but you understand there's probably like two things that a doctor can come out and tell you, the good news or bad news. And while you in that waiting room, like, what are you doing? Are you in there like just, oh my God, franticking and like, okay, and really thinking like, and then when the doctor, you just surprised, or are you preparing yourself in that moment? Are you really in there like, this doctor probably can come out here, like already thinking like, what am I going to do if this comes? Like, if the bad news comes, how am I going to handle this? Such good news, like really making a plan. And I say that in detail. I think we just that's how planned out we have to be with our lives and just everything that we're doing. If you're in a rough spot, you're in a good spot, like you have to have a plan to deal with these things. I think so many people just go about life so aimlessly, bro. Like, we're just waking up and just doing life without a plan. You know what I mean? You have to have a plan for this thing. Like, it's not going to be easy. You just alluded to that. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. We have a video, I always go back to it, that said we understand that something's going to come up against us, but we're going to be ready for it. We did that 5 years ago. And that's a part of it. Anything you try, especially when you're trying to do something that you're giving glory to God while you're doing it, like you understand that this is God, like the devil's going to come. You get what I'm saying? And I think so many people don't prepare for that situation again through social media, through all these things, highlights. And you're thinking your life supposed to be going so swift, and it's not. All right. So you have to be prepared for the worst. All right. Prepared that everything can fall through at the snap of a finger at any moment. What are you going to do when that happens? All right. And I have something that as we wrap up that I'm going to give everybody that I think you should do to help you all. But as we wrapping the conversation up, man, again, I just wanted everybody to understand, man, that life's a journey. All right. When we talk about becoming, when we talk about anything worth having, it's going to take hard work. Anything worth having, you're going to have to get your hands dirty. You're going to have to have some bumps and bruises because it's a part of your story that you're going to be able to tell to bring somebody else along. If it's just an easy journey that you just breathe through, you can go 100 miles an hour through it without any speed bumps, without any roadblocks or red lights, then you went through it so fast, when you get to the end, you can't even tell nobody about anything because it was a blink of an eye. But when you get through those red lights and you get through those hurdles and stop sign, all that different stuff, alone you get to stop and then you assess and you get more information. Okay, I got to go this way. I got to go all those different reroutes. It's giving you more information to add to your story to be able to pull somebody up and give them. That's just like when they say showing you work. It's easy to look on somebody's paper and get the answer, but when you have to really write the thing out for yourselves, you gain that knowledge that you can give somebody else, and that means that you really learned it. So, man, on your journey, just be blessed and understand that it won't be easy. So, y'all got anything as we wrap up?
Get to your nevertheless. You know, I think that's what people you have to find that. You know, when everything's down, if you lose it all, what are you still willing to do on this side? And for me, my nevertheless is going to be, you know, serving, praising God, and helping others. So regardless of what's going on around me, those are the two things that I know is going to keep me fixed. And so you have to find that for yourself. Find your nevertheless. What are you willing to do when you're tired, when things hurt, when you don't know what's going on? And that's to answer your question when you were saying about, you know, being in that waiting room. You know, I've been in that literally. You know, when my career was for the military was hanging in the balance. I was sitting in a doctor's waiting room, waiting to be told if I could continue on my military career or if I had to come home. And, you know, in that moment, I had to come to my nevertheless. You know, no matter what stands on the other side of what this person says to me when they come in this door, what am I going to fix my life to? What am I going to sit there and marry my life to from this point forward? And I did it. And I know that y'all can do it too. And you just got to do some soul searching, find that nevertheless. And, you know, and then that really helps keep you sturdy. It helps keep you attached to that calling that God has for you. But you have to find that. And that's what's really going to help you push through. And you're going to learn a lot about yourself in that moment when you find it. And life get a little bit lighter for you. Because now you just know, no matter where the chips may fall, this is where people can find me.
For sure. What's up, Rossa?
Keep the faith and trust the process. So the young man that we were alluding to, for him, you know, put his faith in whatever it is that he's trying to do, the person that he wants to be. And then now you know, make sure that you do what you're supposed to do in order to be that guy, but then trust the process along the way, because things are going to come, like you said, it's going to be people, it's going to be friends, family members that may try to knock him off that journey. But keep the faith, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, just like for the same thing we're saying, I'm saying to him, saying to everybody, anything that you're trying to do, man, just make sure that you trust the process of what you're trying to get out of this process of what you're trying to obtain. It'll be good.
Yeah. And so one thing I was telling you, just exercise, this is something you can do is you're just thinking about it. Like, start thinking about something that you're praying, hoping for, that you're just waiting on, that you're waiting to happen. In this season of life, there's always something that we every night, that thing that you're praying to God for, and list 3 things that you can do while you wait, to help that thing come to light. Because so many times we get stopped and we pray and we hope and we wait, but it's like we acting like we can't still do things to help out that circumstance, to help out the odds, to increase the odds to be in our favor. And I want you to think about that thing and think about those 3 things that you could do in the moment. Like, what can I do right now to help me get closer to that thing, and start doing it, start moving your feet, man. I really think we live into a world where everybody wants a handout and we want everything to come easy, and you think it's going to come easy, but it's not. So think about what you can do today to help yourself. All right, you have the ability to do it yourself. With the help of God, everything will happen. So I encourage everybody, man, through this episode, I hope you spark something in you to understand, no matter what you're going through, no matter about how much uncertainty we may have in our country right now, that it's something within you, that this world needs you to be that change agent, to be able to make something happen in your family. You need, at the end of the day, I'm talking about everybody else, you need you to be able to make it happen. So I definitely appreciate everybody for watching this episode. Stop what you're doing right now. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. All right. Stop what you're doing. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. One thing I do want to put on your radar, all right, July 25th, we will have our summer gala. It's going to be a historic night. If you were there last year, you understand, but this year is going to be bigger and better. So I definitely want you to put that on your calendar. We'll had a ticket sale here going soon. And again, the EL2A Podcast will be on the road this summer. All right, we'll be on the road. We're having some great guests, man. You never know who's going to pop up. We may have some mayors, some city council people. We may have definitely some business people, some entrepreneurs. But you never know what you're going to see right here on the EL2A Podcast. And if you in the community, if you're here in Ocala, Marion County, tell us who you think should be on our podcast. All right, we don't know everybody. You may know an extraordinary person out there that we need to know that needs to come up here and share their story. So make sure you put in their name in the comments so we connect with those people. All right. So, fellas, you got anything else? All right. So I gave a little spoken word that I printed out for you all that I want to read, and I'm gonna close with this. The title of this is The Season of Becoming. All right. So we know it's springtime right now. So spring doesn't rush. Yet everything blooms in its time. You have been planted, not buried. What felt like silence was strategy. What looked like delay was development. What seemed like a setback was the soil doing sacred work. Spring is God's reminder that the unseen seasons matter most, because what you produce in the public is always rooted in what you nurture in the private. This is the season of becoming, the season of breaking through, the season of proof that the pain had purpose, that the pressure had process, that the pruning was preparing you for a greater. Don't resent the wait. Don't compare your bloom to anyone else's. Don't dig up the seed because you didn't see fruit by Friday. Spring teaches us that growth is quiet before it's seen. The flowers don't force it. They just face the sun and rise when it's time. So keep showing up, keep watering your dream, keep trusting the soil even when it's dark. Because this season, this spring, it's not just about what's coming to life, it's about who you're becoming in the process. All right, so it's all love from the EL2A Podcast, man. We'll see y'all next time.